Hello everybody and welcome. This is the NBL1 Show. My name's Cameron Luke and the regular season is now behind us and 8 teams remain on both the men's and the women's side as we head for the first ever championship game for the NBL1. Big weekend of men's finals not too far away. The women's pushed back a week due to the Opals Cam, which is a great decision by the NBL1. We'll get all that and plenty more as I'm joined by Mark Worthington. And mate, as I welcome you in, congratulations. I thought there was no chance to get back behind the desk when I returned from my junket, but I'm here, mate. So thank you for keeping yourself and Megan Huswaite, keeping the show flying along.
No, mate, I wouldn't say it was flying, but it was there. And
I watched the show last week. You tried to get me sacked.
Oh, no, mate, we missed you. We're really sorry. Looked like you were having a great time over there in Vegas, but good to have you back, mate.
Mate, it was a good fun time. Of course, a lot of work and I think 1 or 2 beers over it. And David Biwer joins us. He's going to have him and his team got a huge part to play in this NBL1 Finals series and Nunawading Spectres. Hey, Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Cam.
Hey,
pleasure to be here. Before
we talk about how the season's unfolded and your expectations going into it, what have you made? You've been around for such a long period of time. What have you made of the NBL1, the competition, the way it's been structured, and ultimately what leads now to exciting finals?
Yeah, man, it's been 30 years of league changes.
I didn't want to say it too. I don't want to make it feel
yeah,
too
you don't
old.
want me to feel too old. But the reality is to get this type of exposure for this level of basketball and kind of, I was talking to someone just the other day and they were talking about, man, there's a lot more dunks nowadays. And the reality is they are better athletes, but because it's being videoed and there's a lot of live streaming going on, people are getting a chance to see this caliber of league. And they're seeing what it's all about. So it's exciting, and the players absolutely love it.
With all the live streaming, as Dave, you just mentioned, does it make it easy to coach and scout? Like, I'm not sure how much you did 10 years ago, but when you look at it, do you think it changes the complexity of the games a little bit?
Yeah, it's much easier to scout and look back onto what you're coming up against. So for us, we spend most of the year trying to figure out what we should be doing. And then as we get to this pointy end of the season, we start to look a little closer at what everybody else is doing.
What, you don't miss the VHS days, mate? Trying to ask the opposition team if they play them?
Yeah, man, I think I was beta, actually. So, yeah, it's going back a while. Yeah. So.
All right, let's look towards and about this team because it's a team, a veteran team as well, which we'll touch on with so many of those core players that we expected to figure prominently this time of year. And when Liam and Santa Maria and I spoke about it off the top of the year, I didn't discount you, but I did wonder how it would be with, in particular, 3x3 and some players being in and out and Australian representative and all the rest of it. Have you found it of being able to fit guys in and out of the team and being able to maintain a high level, knowing that sometimes you're missing certain guys and then fit them back in the following week and vice versa?
Yeah, I guess it comes down to that veteran status. When guys are out, Simon and Shane seem to step up a little bit more and take a little bit more of a scoring role. And then when the scorers come back in, like the Tom Wrights and the Andrew Steeles, you'll see Shane's assist levels go up a little bit. And, credit to our guys. We had a lot more guys out this year than we did previously, but guys like Luke Van Ryn and Ben Air really stepped up in that thick of the season where we needed wins. We needed to at least grab 1 or 2 to cement that top 4 spot, and they did a great job. So as much as it's tough to get the in and out and get that chemistry right, the veteran status of it all kept the team in right stead, and now we hope we're sitting pretty good for this finals run home.
You talk about the players. How about for yourself personally, coaching 5-on-5 and then to 3-on-3 and back to 5-on-5? What's your mindset going into games and coming in and out of it just as much as what the players are?
I guess for me, I was always kind of less X's and O's and more about, seeing weaknesses and attacking those weaknesses. So maybe it just embellished my thought process a little bit more because on 3-on-3, there's obviously way less X's and O's and there's more mismatch opportunities. And if you watch us play at the Spectres, it's a lot of the same. But now I got guys like Tom Wright and Andrew Steele being much more aggressive than what they were prior to 3-on-3. So I guess it just gives me another chance to kind of spread the word, so to speak.
One of your favourite sayings is be a fixer. Who on your Nunawading team is a fixer for your group?
I mean, if you watched last week with Shane McDonald, he's always there to fight. I mean, veteran guard, does it all. He comes off an on ball and you can see him decide if it's his shot, if it's Simon's shot, or if it's a corner 3 for Steele or Tommy. And he just never gives up, even though we had a horrible third quarter against Eltham. you could see, Shane take the reins and fix it for us. And I think a lot of times you'll see guys in the change room, you've been there, where they complain about the refs, they complain about this and that after the game.
I was one of them.
Yeah, that's why he mentioned it.
Yeah. It's an after the game thing, and it's just something I don't tolerate. I think there's a time to fix it, and it's when the clock's going. So our guys are all about that, trying to fix it while there's a chance to change the result.
Just on Shane McDonald, of course, some NBL experience at the Slingers and at the Breakers as well, and you've spent so much time with him and continues to play at such a high level. Are you surprised he didn't play more NBL or get some more opportunities, considering what he continues to do on a weekly basis in this league?
Yeah, I mean, I think when he goes to the NBL, he has to take on this role-playing thing. Like, I think at the Breakers, Dean had him in the corner, spreading the floor, and that's not his thing. Like, if you saw him preseason in the NBL with the Breakers, where he was the starting point guard and they were running a lot of on-balls for him, he was, doing his thing. But as soon as it was a kick and go to the corner, that's not really what Shane McDonald does. He's got to be a general. And as a backup point guard in the NBL, it's really more just kind of keeping things settled, and I don't think that's his go-to. So, I'm not as surprised as maybe some people would think, but, he's a great player, and if he'd have got the opportunity to be a starting, if he'd have, been a bit bigger or shot the ball a little bit better, he would have dominated in the NBL, I believe.
Lucas Walker was your big inclusion into the group this season. He missed last week. Where's he at? Is he injured? And what role does Lucas Walker play coming finals time?
He's there, and he wanted to play on against Eltham, but it was a kind of a rubber match, nothing we really needed. That game we were pretty confident Frankston was going to beat Sandringham, which they did, so we always knew we were heading to Frankston, so we sat him. I think he'll be fine for the game this weekend, and he's a warrior. Like, even when his back's been a little bit sore for most of the season, but he doesn't talk too much about it, so I would be very surprised if he's not out there.
All right, Frankston finished second, you finished third, so they get home court advantage for the qualifying final on Saturday night, 7:30, Frankston Basketball Stadium. And as we look towards the weekend, that's where we'll start. Over the course of the regular season, when you met, firstly, how did you go? And secondly, what do you find to be their main strengths, considering how much they've really warmed up in the second half of the year?
Yeah, even when we caught them early on, they looked like a good team, like on paper. I think even during your shows, you guys talked that they weren't really performing when they were sitting at that 1-4.
Some of us predicted them to make the grand final, even when they were 1-4. But go on.
Yeah, and you could just kind of see them starting to build. And we had a lot of our guys out when we played them, so they got ahead of us and took the W. And therefore now we're going off to their place. We are 9-1 on the road, so I'm not that worried about heading down to Frankston. That said, they do seem like the team that's in form right now. They've got a lot of weapons and a fast break team that, we're going to need to contain.
So when you played them, they were missing some parts, were they, or not?
I'm not sure if they were missing. We were definitely missing.
Yeah,
okay. Trist wasn't there yet, so I know my guys were out. So
based on that, or based on the team, like, where do you, because they are, Trist, as you spoke on, of course, Majuk's had a really good year, both. Yeah. They've got guys who have stepped up at certain times. Is there one particular part of their game plan or player that you look at, or you look at wholeheartedly and just worry about yourself? How do you go into this matchup?
Well, yeah, now, like we spoke about earlier, now it's more about what they're doing, because we're pretty locked into what we're doing. You look at Bosman. I mean, he's doing his thing, and he gets on the break. He's tough. Shoots the three ball so well. So that on ball with Majuk up at the top is obviously going to be something we look at. And then the one that gets me, I don't know if you guys watched him much, is Barker. He's super talented. He's the guy that, for me, is that, what's he going to give us? And hopefully it's not much, because I think he's kind of the difference, really, and somebody we're going to keep a close eye on.
Obviously, different final structure when it comes to the NBL1 this year and the top 8. So you get a week off with a win. How important is a week off if you get a win or a game off when it comes to this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're veterans. So on one side, it'd be great to get the week off, but on the other side, the guys will strap up and play the next weekend if we have to. I mean, we're looking at trying to get a W, obviously, but if push comes to shove and Frankston gets the better of us, we'll rock up the next time and get it done. We're a veteran squad, so sometimes when we're playing in the regular season, I'm not sure which one we're going to get, which team, because, they're kind of already thinking down the playoff end of it. So for us, all we're trying to do is win that championship, First, second, third, fourth, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's got to be first for us.
You guys are a veteran squad. on the opposite side, you're going against a very young coach in Andrew Harms. What have you made of his season to date, and what are you expecting from him that you think you'll have an advantage against him come finals time?
I'm not sure if I'm going to have an advantage. I'm not sure. I played against him, and he would hit big shots. So I think from when he's sitting on the sidelines.
That's because he was a Metro State guy.
There you go.
He's sitting on the sidelines, and he's probably at that phase now where he's not trying to sub himself in, because those first few years, it's less about coaching and more about showing.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's at that stage now where he's trying to communicate. And if you watch his team play, they seem in sync. They seem like they're playing for each other, and to have all that arsenal out there, and for them to take turns. You'll see Iggy Hadzi, or however you want to call his name, he sometimes plays a role. Next thing you know, he steps up and takes it at you. And that type of chemistry is tough to teach. So I think it's going to be a good battle. My guys know their roles because we've had 8 years of doing this. Their guys seem to be like in sync with one another and willing to let the other guy shine when it's his turn, that's a tough thing to coach.
The other qualifying final, so the double chance will be Ballarat and Kilsyth.
You know, they've obviously been the dominant team for the NBL1 season. This Kilsyth team, they'll pose a question. I watched them on the weekend, and they shot the likes out versus Dandenong. And so I'm going to be interested to see what sort of team shows up for Kilsyth. Obviously, they're battling a few injuries, but they're a team that if they catch on fire, they're very, very dangerous. And I think a lot of people have said that they've underperformed this year for the squad that they have. But, I mean, they'll bring Peter Hooley off the bench on the weekend. That just shows you how much flexibility they have and how much talent that they have.
What do you make of this matchup? You would have seen these two teams?
Yeah, I have seen them up close and personal. So, I think any given night, Kilsyth is the team to beat. They've had what appears to be some sort of chemistry issues, not so much probably off the court, because I know guys like Felix is a glue guy, and there wouldn't be any problem with that side, but just finding who's got what role, and even with Felix playing the 4-man, there seems to be some stuff, but like Wortho said, those guys can shoot the ball, and they got us with that outside perimeter, and that's tough to beat.
My big matchup is Dengakuth, and he's going against Smith Milner. Now, he's been a little bit injured, Milner, but man, he is a high IQ guy, and when you got someone athletic like Dengakuth, it's really important to keep your head in the game early and not get early fouls, because that's a guy that can go off against you and beat you inside and out. And so, for all the talent that Ballarat have, if Kilsyth can win that battle, it'll be massive. Now, the downside, if Kilsyth are able to pull off this miracle, is that they lose Smith Milner to the New Zealand training camp. So they're sort of in a sticky situation. Chris Patton, his hip's not right. He didn't play last week. Owen Otaji, he hasn't been right as well. So they've been riddled with injuries. If Kilsyth are able to get through, they've got a long, long road ahead of them with potentially their best player not being there next week.
True, but they will have home court advantage in a prelim in 2 weeks' time. So you have to go to Kilsyth and knock them on the home court, although you're right, there'll be some guys missing, and we speak about that consistency and some chemistry issues. A lot of that is based around, one, some unavailability due to some other things, but two, because of the injuries to key players at certain points. Kwani, who didn't play on the weekend, but I think Ballarat were resting players, and they'd well and truly had their regular season title wrapped up by then. I'm assuming he's going to be playing for Ballarat this weekend. I know there's a Sydney Kings camp that I think runs for about 10 days. Now, I have no idea when it is. I see Andrew Bogut has jetted back into Australia, so it must be relatively soon. So I'm not certain. I hope, and I've said this over the whole year, you want to see the best players, and the women's side of it's a perfect example of that by pushing it back and being flexible. You want to see the best players play. I'm assuming Kwani will be there this weekend, but he'll be a huge out of, in fact, Sydney Kings and the camp, and I guess responsibilities and duties there means he's missing for the minors. So we'll see how that one plays out in the next 3 or 4 days. All right, Geelong and Dandenong, 7 o'clock. That's an elimination final on Saturday night. Who have you been most impressed with out of these two teams over the year?
I think when you look at it, Dandenong's going to get this one. I think Geelong is a little bit light on the perimeter. They didn't really replace Herbert and Medvedev on the perimeter, so it's going to be tough for them unless they can start making some shots. They run the floor well. Gatlin is just next level athlete, and the intensity that he plays with is going to probably keep him in the game. But unless someone can hit the 3 ball, I think Dandenong's going to be too strong.
They blew an opportunity. Leon O'Neill spoke about it. They blew an opportunity for a double chance with that loss to Bendigo on the weekend, and that can sometimes deflate you a little bit too, though.
Absolutely, but that being said, Dandenong didn't have a great weekend either. They lost to Kilsyth and then had a pretty unconvincing OT win versus Ringwood just to make the finals.
Win's a win.
Yeah. But,
mind you, it was a big shot by Miller to force OT
huge.
as well.
But for me, it's Dexter Kernage-Drew and having that aggressive mindset. He had it in the first half versus Kilsyth and just came out jacking the ball and shooting it at a nice clip. And I think if he comes out aggressive and plays that style of basketball, everyone else seems to go with him. But in the second half, they went away from him. He wasn't as aggressive and their play dropped off dramatically. So he's the big key for me. The other one is Lewis Thomas versus Sam Froling, and that match up in the middle. And Sam, who I've done a little bit of work with, is obviously trying to make a name for himself in the NBL for this coming season. This is going to be his first real chance to step up and be a big piece of the puzzle in the NBL1 finals series. So it'll be interesting to see his development through the next couple of weeks, if they get through this week, and see how he plays.
And 1 o'clock MSAC on Sunday. Of course, you can catch all these games at NBL1 on YouTube, live streamed all the games. Melbourne will be hosting Bendigo. Bendigo with a huge win against Geelong, which dealt Geelong's double chances, well, killed them off, while Bendigo stayed alive and have an opportunity. And they play against a Melbourne team that at certain points this year played really well, Dave.
Yeah, they're up and down, you know. You got Dane Pinot doing his thing day in, day out, just
I had him
getting
as the
it done.
MVP, and Dane Sotelo came in here and ripped me apart on the show.
Yeah, I'm not sure about all that part. But, and then you got, I don't even know how to say it. He seems like he's a pogo stick, but it's Puzzaloo. Is that how you say it?
Pozzoglu.
Yep.
Pozzoglu. Those two guys are doing it, you know, week in, week out. And then it's the rest of the team, like Wells, when he was hot last week. You know, he put a lot of pressure, or 2 weeks ago, he put a lot of pressure on Frankston. So I think it's going to come down to that. Bendigo, the post-Ben Harvey era, have somehow battled through. They started a little bit, shady, but have really come together. And Turner, man, he's legit.
Ray Turner's averaging just over 23 over the last 10 games. He had 30 again on the weekend, and we talked about Dane Pinot being steady. He really has to step up and shut down Ray Turner. I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and he just tore Ballarat to shreds single-handedly. So if he gets going, it's going to be a long night for Melbourne. The other one is Mathiang and his ability to play and make shots from the perimeter. So I think Melbourne's got their work cut out for them. I really like Bendigo. They're sort of like the Smoky for me in the field that can do damage, and they played Ballarat really close not that long ago, so look out for them. Just
on home court advantage, and we make a lot of it in all sports when it comes to this time of year, but how big is it, or is it a non-factor in NBL1?
He's one on the road, he doesn't care.
That's why I ask.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some leagues, it's a huge factor, and as we get to the do or die type games for us, then it'll be a factor. But I think this weekend, where it's just going to come down to going to the next step and who wants it more, that comes from right in here, not so much your home court. So everything's pretty close to us. Guys that are supporting Nunawading can make their way down to Frankston, and we can get that cheer squad that we need to kind of get us over the line. But you know how it is. The team gets you up.
Before we get to the women's side of it, of course, the final's still a week away. Let's just have a look at a guy as well, Reece Carter, who announced his retirement last week after a wonderful career, of course, NBL championships, a couple of them, a world championship back 2003, and don't have to go far to find his highlights of shooting on the weekend, because he went out, and we love you, Reece, but he went out, he'll have a sore elbow for a couple of weeks, boys. Here it is. He wanted two things out of this, I think, at the weekend's games. He wanted a little jump hook or a sky hook and a dunk. I don't think he got the dunk, but he definitely got most other things in the back pocket.
Reece is one of those players, and I think he played with Naismith back in the day. He's been around for that long, but an old teammate of mine at the South Dragons. We won a championship together, and just a great teammate, great human being. Glad that he's working with Melbourne United now and doing the stuff so he's still involved in the game, but he was never shy on confidence, and the one game that I'll always remember for the rest of my life is when we played New Zealand Breakers at MSAC, and he pulled up from about 10 feet outside the three-point line to win us the game in double OT, and it was one of those no-yes shots that we all love as players, and he was just an outstanding player for a long period of time, and congratulations, mate, and enjoy whatever comes next in your life.
Yeah, and you would have...
I played with him too. I don't know if there's anybody in Australia that didn't play with him. He's played with that many guys, and sometimes when you see a guy move from team to team, there's something going on. But Reese was a roommate of mine as well. He was 18, I was 36, and just unbelievable guy. He's a glue guy. Yeah. So that's the reason why I think he stayed in the league for so long. He was a microwave in terms of scoring. He could lock people down. There was a lot of avenues. Plus, he was great in the change room. So good luck. I love that he went out the way he did. I think he was not far off a triple-double if he'd have passed the ball 10 more times. I think he had one assist, but he had some steals in there too. And, yeah, just a great guy. I'm happy for him. It's a shame he's retiring, but, you know, there's always a time.
Into his new world of basketball as well, as you touched on, Wortho, down at Melbourne United as a development coach as well. So good luck, Reece. All right, women's side of it, of course, pushed back a week. Top 8 teams remain. We'll start with the Nunawading Spectres women, of course, who are in that finals starting next weekend. What have you made of their year, sitting up fairly close and personal as you do?
It's been up and down, you know. We seem to be a little bit steady early on. Izzy Chilcott got hurt about 3/4 of the way through, and we grabbed Maddie Garrick, which I think that all happened anyway. It wasn't one related to the other. And Maddie's doing some great things for us out there to try and build that. I think we're off the back of 2 losses, but we got D'Angelo coming back in, and I think there's so much chemistry on that team that you never know what you're going to get with that team. They could do anything.
Well, you talk about Maddie. Talk about how good her handles are. For a player, and she broke people down constantly during the 3x3. Talk about her, what you saw of her in the 3x3 play, and now what we're seeing now.
Oh, it's amazing because she does have the handles of elite level, regardless of the gender. You know, we used to say play like a dude, but we don't say that anymore because she is absolutely out there doing it as good or better than a lot of the other gender. And to see what I'm seeing is just a whole nother level of confidence, which is what I think the NBL1 brings to the players. You see Dave Barlow came in like 2 or so years ago. Who knew what he was going to be? Next thing you know, he's having an unbelievable year at Melbourne United. And I'm seeing a similar thing with Maddie Garrick, her confidence, even from the 3-on-3 level where we're constantly, you're exposed out there in 3-on-3, and there's a lot of advantage going from 3-on-3 to 5-on-5 because you have a lot more accountability. And to see her mental side of what she's doing with the Spectres on a brand new team and coming in with that type of mindset, hopefully will, you know, bring her right into the finals as well as into the Melbourne Boomers season.
And I think the best thing about Maddie is her as a person. And she's just one of the great people of all time and always got a smile on her face. But when she gets on the basketball court, she just wants to kill you and she'll make you look bad. But one of her greatest qualities is her as a person overall, and couldn't be happier for her.
Nunawading will play Waverley Saturday week as well. At Nunawading, of course, geographically a huge rivalry there from under 12s up when it comes to the associations. We'll start with the Friday night game, though, just where, though, we'll go deeply into a bit more in depth this time next week. But I just want to ask you, Bendigo or Geelong? Bendigo win the minor premiership. Bendigo or Geelong for you for favourites right now?
I think once they get all their players back, Geelong are going to be too tough. I mean, you like what Kelly Wilson's doing down in Bendigo, and obviously they're a super stacked team with Tess Lavey and bringing in Madgen as well as Gabe Richards. The list just goes on down there, but I just like the athletes at Geelong and what they're able to bring, and I think they've got great length and are able to cover the floor a little bit better. And once that team is all together, I like Geelong overall. All
right, of course, the rest of the weekend, Knox and Dandenong's going to be a huge one, elimination final at Knox, and then Geelong and Ringwood in that qualifying final. And a big shout out to the Ringwood women. We spoke about it earlier in the year, and strength of schedule is something that Liam Santamaria did point out a couple of times. And the big V teams stepping up to NBL1 was always going to be a challenge. And the Ringwood women started really well. They won their first 3 or 4. In fact, commentator lost their first loss of the year against Eltham, and we weren't really sure. It was actually you and I were with one of the most bemusing refereeing decisions of all time, actually. Remember they changed that goaltending in the men's? Anyway, we digress. But yeah, they have done a really good job, and to finish third and have an opportunity now to give themselves the best chance to win that NBL1 championship is going to be great to see. But we'll talk more about the women's and the 4 games next week. And I promise, and I'm talking to you, Luke Sakari, down the camera, he will get us a participant in the NBL1 women's first week of the finals to join us in the show this time next week. But where were you Saturday night? Kilsyth?
I was at Kilsyth.
Anything interesting happen after the women's game?
Oh, just a little something interesting.
What happened?
I think their coach, Sam Woosnam, isn't too pleased with us.
Go on.
Doesn't think that they've got enough attention during the season, and they're going to get all the attention that they want in round one when they come up against Bendigo. So I will say this, that Booth was an absolute killer on the weekend.
Huge.
She went to work against Dandenong. She had 28 points and 23 rebounds. She had 16 and 10 at quarter time, if you don't mind. And if you can throw it into the post like they can throw it into her, and the way that she finishes both hands was incredible. This is a team that can shoot from the perimeter, and they really put Dandenong to the sword. And Dandenong, they were short-handed. They only had 7 players with injuries and people away. But that being said, Kilsyth was outstanding. And Sam, you got your attention that you wanted. Now it's up for you and your girls to show up in round one against the best team, one of the best teams in the competition in Bendigo.
Traditionally, like all media, we take criticism well. No, but Sam, firstly, our apologies. Secondly, it's an open invite. You're the person who will be invited. If you've got time next week, and I know you're busy lives, but we'd love someone to have from Kilsyth Women next week to join us in the show. So always like getting called out. Obviously, Geelong. Liam Santa Maria suggests Geelong women couldn't go to Bendigo and get the job done, and the coaching staff put the quote up in the locker room. So we'll see how that one goes. But Sam next week.
Kilsyth looks good. I had a chance to watch the girls prior to our game the other week, and they remind me of the Frankston boys team. They just seem to all know what they're supposed to do, and I'm just quiet. I'm on the back of them, I reckon. I think they're going to be a chance to knock some people off.
As we head into the finals series, and of course, don't forget, every finals game stream live at NBL1. Keep it locked on all your socials and in YouTube as well. How excited are you? I know you've been around for a while, as we touched on, in different competitions at the highest level, and of course 3x3 with Australian representatives and all the rest of it. But how excited are you to be involved in this, in the first ever NBL1 final series, and the best associations, the best players? And we've spoken so much about the strength of both the men's and women's, and the players who have filtered back and come back to play from the NBL, the WNBL college. How pumped and excited are you on the verge of this series?
It's pretty amazing. You know, to be honest, I talked a little bit along the way about, you know, in my NBL short career, an older guy going from High Sense Arena to MSAC was kind of like going from the corner window office to a cubicle. I felt like some of the league previous, even though it was good competition, was the cubicle. And now you've put us into the corner window, and it's an amazing view to see all this talent out there and to see a little bit of momentum behind the league. And you can see it in the faces of these guys. They play a little bit harder. They take more notice. They know who's in the top 10. And for us to kind of, this team, when I first started coaching it, we won a national championship, and ever since, you know, we're a bridesmaid. So it would be great for us to grab a little bit of silverware this year. And some of our guys are getting a bit older, so who knows what the future holds for those guys. So it wouldn't be bad to give them a little something on the way out.
Tickets for NBL1 Championship Night on sale as well. Jump on NBL1.com.au or on the socials. And, of course, the NBL1 Awards the next day at Pond, which has to be Felix von Hoff inspired. He lives there, and all of a sudden the NBL1 Awards is actually there. So jump on NBL1.com.au, check it all out. Check the socials to get your tickets as well. Frankston, Nunawading aside, what are you most looking forward to this weekend, Werther?
Well, I'm actually looking forward to Kilsyth Women now.
Okay, well, that's a week later.
Oh, yeah, that's
Can we
right.
go this weekend first?
Oh, mate. I think it's going to be Bendigo, the Bendigo men. I'm interested to see what they come up with. And I'm really interested to see Ray Turner and what he does. And as he continues to knock on the door of getting an NBL contract once he becomes naturalised, it's still probably 12 months away, but I think teams are paying attention to him now and what he's doing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does. And the other person is Andrew Harms, is coaching against Dave here. And Andrew is he was a great point guard when I played against him, played with him at Metro State. He's a really smart guy, so it doesn't surprise me that translates over to the coaching side of things. But when you come up against an experienced coach, sometimes the little things in games, the experienced guys have that knack down pat, and I'm interested to see what in-game changes that Harmsy makes.
Can't wait for it. Huge weekend. Dave, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining
Yeah,
us
it's my
as
pleasure.
well. Nunawading men
Though.
to take on Frankston this weekend. At NBL1 to get involved on all your socials and on YouTube. All games are live streamed. I can't wait. I'm going to be at Ballarat Saturday night and then MSAC on Sunday for that game.
Wait, are you driving Felix up?
I might just jump on the Kilsyth bus. It might just be easier, but no, I wouldn't get in the car with
There
Felix.
might be a Bond bus. Well, yeah, there might be.
I know Red's going
corporate Bond
straight
bus.
after the game, win or lose. I guarantee that. Can't wait for it. Enjoy NBL1 first opening weekend of the NBL1 finals. Until then, we'll see you next week.